What's up, everyone? Welcome back. If you're new here, we talk about psychology, human behavior, and the invisible forces that shape every social interaction you're in. Today, we're going in deep on something most people sense but never fully understand: the psychology of dominance in social settings. Not aggression, not arrogance, not the loudest person in the room. Real dominance. The kind that's quiet, grounded, and almost impossible to ignore. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how social hierarchies form, why some people naturally rise to the top of every room they enter, and what the actual psychology behind it is. Let's go. What dominance actually is, and what it isn't. First, we need to kill a myth. Most people hear the word dominance and picture someone aggressive, loud, controlling, someone who talks over people, takes up space obnoxiously, and demands attention. That's not dominance, that's insecurity performing as dominance. And people can feel the difference, even when they can't name it. Real social dominance is about one thing: perceived value combined with emotional composure. The person in the room who seems least affected by external pressure. The person whose approval others subtly seek without being asked. The person who can sit in silence while everyone else performs. Dominance isn't taken, it's assigned by the group, often without a single word being spoken. The hierarchy forms in the first few minutes. Here's something researchers in social psychology have documented repeatedly. When a group of people meet for the first time, a social hierarchy begins forming almost immediately. Within minutes, sometimes seconds, people are making unconscious assessments. Who's in charge here? Who do I look to? Who do I want approval from? These assessments happen below the level of conscious thought. They're based on body language, eye contact, vocal tone, how someone carries themselves when they walk in. Not credentials, not titles, not what anyone has said yet. This is why your entrance matters. This is why the first 30 seconds in any new social environment are disproportionately important. The hierarchy is already being written, and you are either authoring your position in it or letting others author it for you. The 3 pillars of social dominance. If you strip away everything else, genuine social dominance rests on 3 things. The first is composure, the ability to remain calm and unaffected under social pressure. When tension rises, when conflict enters the room, when someone challenges you, the dominant person doesn't flinch. They don't get defensive. They don't rush to explain themselves. They stay level, and that levelness sends a signal to everyone watching. This person is not threatened. And people who are not threatened are perceived as powerful. The second is scarcity of approval. Dominant people don't distribute their validation freely. They don't laugh at every joke. They don't agree with every opinion. They don't rush to make everyone comfortable. This isn't coldness, it's selectivity. And when someone selective gives you their attention, their laugh, their agreement, it means something. It carries weight precisely because it isn't automatic. The third is self-referencing. Most people constantly look outward for cues on how to feel and behave. They scan the room, they read the energy, they calibrate themselves based on how others are reacting. A dominant person does the opposite. Their internal state sets the tone, and the room calibrates to them. This is what people mean when they say someone has presence. They're not reacting to the room is reacting to them. Why some people command rooms without trying. You've met these people. They walk into a space and something shifts. Conversations reorient. People stand a little straighter. The energy in the room changes without anyone acknowledging it. What's actually happening is a phenomenon psychologists call status cues, a cluster of nonverbal signals that the brain processes automatically and assigns social rank to. Slow movement, deliberate speech, sustained eye contact, stillness, taking up space without apologizing for it. These cues trigger an ancient part of the brain, the part that's been reading social hierarchies since before language existed, and they produce an almost involuntary response in the people around you: deference, attention, interest. The fascinating part is that these signals can be learned. They're not hardwired to personality. They're behaviors, and behaviors can be practiced until they become automatic. The dominance paradox. Why trying to dominate makes you less dominant. Here's where it gets interesting. The moment you start actively trying to assert dominance, talking louder, interrupting more, positioning yourself above others, you've already lost it. Because genuine dominance doesn't need to announce itself. Think about the most powerful person you've ever been around. Chances are they weren't performing, they weren't competing, they weren't trying to win the room. They were just completely, unhurriedly themselves. And that was enough. The pursuit of dominance is itself a signal of low status. It says I don't already have this, so I need to take it. Real high-status behavior is the opposite. Relaxed, generous, unbothered. Because when you already have something, you don't need to fight for it. This is the paradox at the heart of social dominance. The less you need it, the more naturally it comes to you. How emotional control creates social power. Of all the things that signal dominance in a social setting, emotional regulation might be the most powerful. Here's why. Emotions are contagious. When someone in a group becomes anxious, others start to feel it. When someone panics, the group destabilizes. Whoever is able to remain calm when others are not becomes the emotional anchor. And emotional anchors become leaders by default. This is why dominance and composure are so deeply linked. The person who can absorb tension without transmitting it back. The person who can hear bad news without collapsing. The person who can be challenged without immediately defending themselves. These people become load-bearing walls in any social structure. And everyone in the group senses it. Practice this in small moments. When someone says something that irritates you, pause before reacting. When tension enters a conversation, don't match it. Lower it. When you feel the impulse to justify yourself, wait. See what happens when you don't rush to manage how others perceive you. You'll feel the shift in how people relate to you almost immediately. The role of voice and speech patterns. Your voice is one of the most powerful status signals you have, and most people completely waste it. High-status speech is slow, deliberate, and unhurried. It doesn't rush to fill silence. It doesn't rise in pitch at the end of statements as if asking for permission. It doesn't pepper itself with filler words that signal uncertainty. Low-status speech is fast, apologetic, and upward inflecting. It over-explains. It prefaces everything with "I mean," or "kind of," or "I don't know," maybe. It trails off. It hedges. Here's a simple practice. In your next conversation, speak 10% slower than feels comfortable. Let your sentences land before you move to the next one. Don't fill the silence after you make a point. Let it sit. You will feel almost immediately like you're taking up too much space. That feeling is calibration. That is what presence actually sounds like from the inside. Status games and how to opt out of them. Every social group has status games, the subtle competitions for recognition, approval, and rank. Who gets the last word? Who tells the funniest story? Who gets deferred to? Who gets interrupted? Most people play these games unconsciously. They're running status calculations in the background of every interaction without realizing it. And when they lose a round, when they get interrupted, when their joke doesn't land, when someone talks over them, there's a micro hit of stress. The highest status move is to opt out entirely, not by withdrawing, by simply being so secure in your own position that the game becomes irrelevant to you. You don't need the last word. You don't need the laugh. You don't need to one-up the story. You're fine either way. This is disarming to people who are deep in the status game because they don't know how to compete with someone who isn't competing. It reads as supreme confidence. And it is. What genuine dominance actually feels like to be around. Here's the thing that gets lost in conversations about dominance and status. The version of it that actually earns lasting respect doesn't make people feel small. It makes them feel safe. The truly dominant person in any room, the one people gravitate toward, seek out, remember, is not the one who took the most space or won the most exchanges. It's the one who made others feel seen, who listened fully, who was warm without being eager, who was confident without being competitive. That combination, strength and warmth together, is the rarest thing in any social setting, and it is the most magnetic. Dominance without warmth is just intimidation. Warmth without strength is just people-pleasing. But when you put them together, when you are someone who is genuinely grounded, genuinely calm, and genuinely interested in the people around you, that is when you stop commanding rooms and start owning them. That's the psychology of dominance, not performance, not aggression, not competition. Composure, scarcity of approval, self-referencing, emotional regulation, and the paradox that the less you need it, the more naturally it comes. Pick one thing from this video and practice it this week. Just one. The entrance, the stillness, the slower speech. One thing consistently until it becomes automatic. Then add another. Subscribe if you're new, drop a comment telling me which of these hit hardest for you, and I'll see you in the next one.